Hello, hello, friends. Welcome back. So, I had to share this today because it is now, as of this recording, it's March 30th, 2026. And this was inspired because last week I was reading an email from a friend who's also a coach, also a mom. And it was to her email list, and she was referencing like, hey, it's the end of Q1. Like, how are things at? For you, she's a book coach. So like, how are things going with your goals for your book and things like that? And I had to just kind of stop and reread that for a second because I was like, what? Is Q1 already done? Like between pneumonia, sinus infections, and like honestly, just the state of the world right now. 3 months has passed like crazy around here. I'm going to fill you in a little bit more about all of that in this episode. But I realized I had done almost nothing that I had planned for Q1. And I think I wrote 3 emails, 0 grid posts, barely any even stories, no podcast pitches. I had 1 podcast episode and an email list that's been sitting at 15 people for like a year. And here's the thing. I have 5 private clients right now. That's the most I've ever had at one time in my coaching business, and even when I was coaching in my first business, my podcast business. I started coaching in 2021. So it's the most I've ever had at one time, which is phenomenal. And I'm so excited. And one of those clients just re-signed into our 3rd container in a row. I paid off my credit cards this season. I rebuilt my savings. I can pay all of our bills from my coaching income. And none of that came from hustling harder. None of that came from all of those voices that wanted to say, I need to do more. I need to show up more. I'm not doing enough. I'm not emailing my list enough. I'm not showing up online enough. All the things, right? None of it came from proving myself through content or consistency metrics or showing up perfectly online. And if you've ever had the sneaking suspicion that no matter how much you do, how much you produce, how much you try and like prove that you deserve to be here as an entrepreneur, deserve to take up space in this world and a business world and have a successful business, the peace and the freedom and the safety that you're actually after just keeps moving farther away. If that's you, you wouldn't be alone. So many of my clients feel this way. I used to feel this way. And if that's you, this episode is for you, love. Okay, let's talk Q1 recap and why I actually don't like referring to things in quarters, right? That was another thing that caught my attention when I read that email last week is like, this is why I like to refer to seasons. So I personally don't run my business thinking in quarters, right? I think this will resonate with you as well. And I want to break down how I do it and why. Because like Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, those feel just really arbitrary and they just feel boring and they make me think of financial statements. If those resonate with you, by all means, feel free to keep using them. But if they don't, let me break down how I do it. So for me, I take things in my business and life a chunk at a time still, because like you're not going to be the same person through the whole year. You're not going to have the same capacity through the whole year. Your clients' availability and market changes and all the things are not going to stay the same, right? And so I do think looking at things, at goals, at outcomes, at capacity and different things in chunks throughout the year is helpful. But I prefer to look at it as seasons. And I'm not just talking about like spring, summer, fall, winter, although your seasons might align with those. The seasons I'm talking about are defined by like your family's rhythms. What is going on with school and whatever else you have planned in your family, right? Not a fiscal calendar. So quick explanation what I mean. Like as a mom and business owner, that's really what's marking your varying capacity, right? And therefore shifting your priorities, goals, and plans. If your kids are school age, think of summer, for example. Really, it's like through the end of May, maybe even just all of May, through the end of August to early September. Because in May, there's all kinds of school events. Some of your kids are actually ending school. We end like the first week of June and don't start until September 1st or 2nd this year, which is insane to me. It's like actually longer than normal summer here this year. But in May, there's so many events. People call it May summer. Some of you are actually ending school. It starts getting crazy. And in the summer, if you are like all of my clients to date, you likely don't have other childcare outside of school, and you want to be spending more time with your kids during the summer when they're home. Maybe you want to go to the pool. Maybe you want to take some trips. Maybe you just want to have some more flexible time. Or maybe you just can't because you don't have other childcare, right? So things need to look different in your business. Around the holidays is another one, right? When you've got germs, more on that in a bit, and Thanksgiving break, and then winter break, and all the things. Maybe you've got trips, maybe you got family coming in. It's just going to look different. Your capacity and how, like, what you're going to be able to actually do in your business. It completely depends on what is going on in your life during that season, right? Also, seasonally, our bodies and nervous systems change. So often in the winter and the fall and winter, we naturally are kind of wanting to slow down and cocoon a little bit. And it's colder, whereas like there's all this marketing stuff with Black Friday sales and New Year's stuff, and there's all these people that don't live like us saying, this is my biggest month in business, and you're like, I just want to have some soup and like hot chocolate and I'm exhausted right now. You know what I mean? So, all that to say, this is exactly the framework that I walk you through in my Rooted and Thriving Momentum map. By the way, I'll link it in the show notes. It's a pre recorded masterclass walking you through how I do this seasonal reflection and goal setting slash, like, I call it a momentum map rather than like hard goals or whatever. I'm going to walk you through my reflections on mine from this past season. But if you want to learn how to do that too, it's, like I said, pre-recorded, so you can watch anytime. You can, I also give you my CEO Cash Clarity Companion template, which is my client's favorite. That helps you really get clarity around your business finances in a simple way. And it's only $97. So I will link it in the show notes, and I'll pop back in to share a little bit more about it later. Okay, so all that to say, I will come back to speak more specifically to summer as we get closer to that, which is going to come up real fast because it's already just about April. But for now, I want to share a personal reflection of how my first 3 months of 2026 have gone, how my own business goals have gone, how things have gone in my personal life, and normalize that as both and cycle breaking moms. It often looks slower than you thought it would, and that's okay. So, the last time I did a seasonal momentum map, my own process refresh, was in December. I just looked back. I didn't actually write the date, but it looks like it was just before winter break. So probably mid-December. And I figured through the end of spring break was kind of made sense for like the next season for my family. And it's funny enough that actually I read that email last week because that's where we are. We just finished spring break here in Portland, Oregon, and I just dropped the boys off this morning back to their first day of school after spring break. So we're right on schedule. So this is actually a perfect time for me to refresh this and like look over it and review it. And I actually am going to come back maybe next week. The next episode, I'm going to walk you through how I do this momentum map, and you can walk through it with me if you'd like. Okay. So here's what I wrote down in December. So I always start with reflecting on what I want my life to look and feel like, especially at the end of the next season. But like, that's where I'm headed. And this is what I recommend for everybody before we even look at goals or money or clients or any of that. Like, how do you want your life to look and feel? And so here's what I wrote. I want to feel intrinsically safe and like I belong to a community of humans who see me, lift me up, believe in me, and also the work I'm doing. I want my work to be in demand. I want to be able to easily pay all our bills with the money I make from my coaching business. I want to feel confident that I have a pipeline of clients coming in so my income is predictable. I want to feel supported. I want to have the space and safety to pursue new friendships, relationships, and hobbies. And as a little backstory, if you're new here, the last it's like adding up now, 4 to 5 years of my life, I've been like a hell of a whirlwind. Abuse in my marriage, dissolve, like implosion of all the things in my life. Marriage, life as I knew it. Our financial situation, my first business, which was like mixed in with my now ex-husband, and like all the things. So the last 3 years, since the split and our divorce, has been a lot of rebuilding. It has not been easy, but it has been beautiful in a lot of ways. And so that's what I'm kind of talking about there. So we're on the right path. So when I did a reflection and then decided to kind of refine a plan, my goals that I set for myself for my business were to sign one client at a higher rate, that I had planned to start in 2026 for my private coaching, at $1,500 a month or $4,500 in total for 3 months, and to hit 100 email subscribers on my list. I had 14 or 15. And to do that, I had planned to start reaching out to guest appear on other podcasts, to write to my email list more regularly. We do some of these podcast episodes, show up more on Instagram to continue building relationships there. And I always look at and recommend that you and my clients look at in part of this, like my non-negotiable for this season and always was mental and emotional availability for my boys, my kids. So here's what actually happened. Not long after I did this planning, second week of Christmas break, my youngest son got really sick with what turned out to be pneumonia. And he was super sick for 2 solid weeks. Then my oldest son got it, pneumonia, and he was super sick and out of school for another 2 weeks. So like there's like 3 weeks in January where one or both kids were out of school. And I caught it and I was sick as well. And so it was rough. It was rough in January. And then I think February was sinus infections, like cold, COVID, something. I don't know. It turned into sinus infections that went through us one to the other. My sweet boys sleep with me and they are very cuddly, even at almost 10 and 12. And they love to share germs as much as we try to avoid it. So there was like more missed school this month. One of my kids had another sinus thing going on. And like it just, needless to say, we had a lot of pediatrician visits, a lot of snuggles, a lot of home time, a lot of schedules getting rearranged, a lot of massively decreased capacity for work. Knock on wood, everybody is healthy now, but it was rough. And so, and on top of that, right, of course, the world and our country in the US has just been a shit show, especially in the last few months since 2026 started. So, yeah, in like to name it plainly, even though I had probably 1.5 million ideas, things I wanted to share, things that I wanted to do, little bits of space where I felt really creative and like, oh, I could do this. Ooh, I really want to do this. Ooh, I really should share this. I'd love to share this. I had the capacity for really, I showed up for my clients, and otherwise I did almost nothing for my business. And that was the right call. So, reality of how my goals in my business went. I made 0 podcast pitches to appear on other podcasts. I didn't even get to start making a list of like aligned shows that I could pitch to. That totally got put on the back burner. I recorded and released one podcast episode of my own here in January because I couldn't not talk about what was going on in Minneapolis, but nothing since then. I sent 3 emails since then to my email list, one in the end of December, one in January, one in February. I posted a few stories on Instagram in the end of December and early January, like literally probably 5 or 6 total. Then I stopped once like pneumonia started kicking in here. I did 2 more stories at the end of January and 2 stories in February. Nothing in March, nothing since then. I posted nothing on my Instagram grid or any other social media platform since December 3rd, 2025. I ended up leaning into my inner mentor, just like my intuition, like my aligned inner voice, and decided not to raise my private coaching prices yet. I was just like not in the capacity or headspace to really do the mindset work and show up in the space to elevate it. I feel excited about that. And so I decided to open up a spot at my 2025 rate in the beginning of the year. the $1,000 a month or $3,000 for the 3 months. And I signed a new phenomenal client in that spot in January. In doing that, I realized from that and like another client that had signed last year, well, in summer, that my people needed and felt more comfortable with a softer start option for a deep container like one-on-one work. So I actually officially made my 2-week private coaching option that had been a part of the momentum map as an upgrade into its own offer, and called it the soft start. And I've now had 3 people go through it. My clients, like women, are loving it. They have had such deep transformations in connection in just 2 weeks. And all 3 of them have actually converted and turned into, I hate that word, but like turned into, like decided to move into, let's say that, full on one-on-one coaching and just like the most phenomenal, amazing clients. All 5 of my clients are like totally badass. And I'm just so proud of them. I will rave on them in another episode. I did sign another new one-on-one client into one of my scholarship spots this month in March. And so I actually, even though I didn't raise my prices and sign a client at the 2026 rate I had imagined, I actually signed 2 new clients this season so far. And that brought me to 5 private clients at one time, which is the most I've ever had at one time since I started coaching. And I just adore these women, and that just feels so, so juicy and good. And I had another this season. I had one of my 5 one-on-one clients just resigned last week into our 3rd round of coaching together. My email list, as I mentioned at the beginning, it is nowhere near 100. Honestly, it's 15. And that includes my 5 coaching clients and my friend, a friend of mine. So yeah, it's extremely small. You know what? I haven't had the capacity to put any effort into growing it. And, it is what it is. Say la vie. I did start a private community for my one-on-one clients in Telegram, which is where we do our in-between coaching work. And so they can choose, like all of them have opted to choose to be part of it, where they can get to know each other and cheer each other on. And that's been really fun. And this is the thing I keep coming back to. And honestly, it's become central to my messaging and positioning as a coach, because this is actually what I've seen come up again and again and again with my clients, especially over the last 2 years since my coaching work has shifted and really honed in on working with cycle breaking moms, many of whom have businesses. It's that you cannot hustle or like try and prove your way to peace, freedom, and safety. You just can't. There's so much psychology around why we feel the need to do that. And I still find my brain wanting to succumb to that sometimes and feeling like I'm not doing enough, right? But in this season, when I literally had no capacity to even close to hustle, I hate that word anyway, but like do more, right? The things that actually mattered helped and stuck. And like I still made progress. The client stayed, new ones came. And like phenomenal fucking clients. And more actually in my personal life that I'm going to share in a minute, because the foundation wasn't content output, right? It's building relationships. It is relationships with my clients, relationships with people that I've met through Instagram or people that my clients know or whatever, and trust and like doing work that actually goes really deep and is like the core of the work that I do. So, because I think it's really important when we're looking at, okay, how did my season go? How did my quarter go or whatever? You are a whole ass human, right? So it's not like it can feel defeating, honestly, sometimes when you look at like a really tough season like this and be like, I didn't meet any of my goals, or I didn't really get very far in my business, or it's taking a lot fucking longer than I thought it was going to take, or it's just going really slowly, or it's not, you know, it doesn't feel all that exciting to like share, because if, like, you see people online sharing, I had this, I don't know, $10,000 launch or $100,000 launch, or, you know, who knows, like big flashy numbers, right? But what you're really wanting out of your business is, yes, to make an impact. That's huge. And that's something also that I think we forget. is that the impact and the ripple effect that you're doing with whoever you're working with, or even if it's the people that are reading your content and aren't yet working with you, that is massive. And the impact you're creating with your kids and the cycle breaking work that you're doing, the ripple effect that that is going to create in the world. And then just like what you're creating for your life, because that's one of the big reasons probably why you started your own business, right? To have freedom and peace and stability and be able to like live the life that you actually want. So here's my update personally. I really made so much progress actually toward the vision that I wanted for my overall life that I wrote down in December. Like I mentioned, if you've been following along, like in my rebuilding my life emotionally, financially, and business, all the things, it has taken me a lot longer to get the point where I'm at now than I thought it would, but that's okay. Yeah, but in spite of all the sickness that we had here, um, I've done so much inner work on my own and with my therapist around building that strong sense of intrinsic safety. It's not fully there yet, but it's so much stronger than it was even 3 months ago. And I'm so proud of that. I paid off my credit cards and built a savings cushion so I can now, again, easily pay off our bills with the income just from my coaching business. Again, if you're new here, like, is part of my rebuilding journey 2 years ago, going into a year ago. I mean, I was working like 5 part-time gigs, like very small in my coaching business. I was editing podcasts, I was walking dogs, I was doing like personal assisting for somebody. I got a job as a paraeducator in a preschool, like whatever was like in my capacity to pay the bills in that season so that I could focus on my boys and the stuff that I needed to work on in our healing journey. And so it feels like huge growth that, and it like so much of the last 3 years was spent, 4 years, even year four before the divorce, that like where I was in a completely different financial situation than I had grown up in, that I had ever been in as an adult, like really, really hard shit, bankruptcy and all the things. So to be at a place again where I feel like I have spaciousness and like I have all my bills like saved up for like a month ahead of time and like only be working one job now, just my coaching business, I can't even tell you. It is like if I had like 5 years ago, just without seeing the middle, been like, here's where you're at, I would have been like, yeah, no big deal. But like what everything I've been through, I'm like, this is fucking huge. So I'm very proud of myself. It was not easy to get here again. And anyway, I digress. I have been on friend dates with new women to grow my circle of friends because I never really made any good friends here when we moved to Portland. And that's been really fun and interesting. Did you know that Bumble has an app for women who want to make like platonic friendships? That's been weird because it's on my list at some point to start dating. Since the divorce, I haven't done that yet. I've never done online dating before, so that was kind of weird, but it's been good. It's been good practice. And I've met some cool people and gotten to experiment a little bit. And so I'm proud of myself because that was something that I wanted when I did this initial momentum map. Well, the reset of the momentum map in December was like more of a community and more friends. So that's really fun. And my boys are doing so, so well. Don't get me wrong, still life, right? They still fight. I still mess up, all the things, right? But overall, they just honestly make me so proud all the fucking time. I mean, these kids who are going to turn 10 and 12 next month are showing more emotional maturity at their age than their dad does now, or really honestly any other man in my life to date. My dad, previous exes, or even any man that I know in any of my friends' lives, honestly. I mean, I have a couple clients who have husbands with more emotional maturity, but I haven't met any of them in person. And I'm just so proud of my kids. They are funny and compassionate and curious and smart. And I mean, I watch them sharing their feelings and like modeling repair, practicing repair, and I'm just like blown away. Right. And I'm just so, so grateful that I fought for this life where I get to be present with them and do the work that I'm meant to do in the world. So, did I have any flashy results? No. Did I hit my business goals this season? Nope. Do I still feel proud of this season and feel happy with my growth, both personally and professionally, actually, and what I achieved? Absolutely. I do. And that's like the both and here, right? We can have both and. So, here's the honest truth, right? The honest both and reflection of this season. I hit none of my business goals the way I thought I was going to. And I'm genuinely proud of everything about the season because what this season showed me, again, in real time in my own life and in my business, is that you cannot hustle or prove your way to peace, freedom, and safety. And you don't have to anyway, right? It's really about slowing down, getting really intentional. These are all the things that I've really known deeply and seen evolve in my own work and my work with clients and their lives and businesses over the last 2 years, especially. Um, and it's just really this season in my business has been a really good example of that. And I have so many examples from my clients as well. Like you can write content and pitch and post and do all the things and like try and prove yourself endlessly, but you can still feel like the ground underneath you isn't solid. You can still feel like there's not enough money in your business, or there's not enough clients, or you don't have a strong pipeline of clients coming in, or that everything's going to fall apart and all your clients are going to leave and you're going to be broke and homeless. Like all these things that our mind takes us, right? Or you can do the slower, deeper work of actually building that ground, learning to sit with, feel your feelings, learning to get in the present, learning to regulate your nervous system, learning to like put some blinders on and focus on what your life and family actually looks like and your capacity actually looks like, what you actually want. If nobody else was looking and nobody else outside of your house saw what your numbers were, how many clients you had, how much money you were making, any of that, like what do you actually want? That's when we get to build intentionally around that. And that's really when we get to build that peace, safety, and freedom now. And then it actually is still there when you're making more, having more, doing more. You can have both, right? We find our enough and we can also want more. But if we don't find the enough piece and like focus on our piece, it never will be enough, right? And that's what the season was for me, especially, although honestly, most of my seasons are like that, maybe yours too. And this is the work that I do with my clients as well. I had one client this season intentionally choose to really slow things down as far as her business went because she had some major medical stuff come up that really needed her attention. That's really going to ultimately open her capacity up substantially when she takes the time over the next 3 to 6 months to focus on her getting on the logistics of that, on healing and different things like that. Then she's going to actually be able to hit the ground running in the fall when all of that's taken care of. I have another client who has been really, our work has really just evolved to doing so much inner work around finding her inner mentor and setting boundaries and standing up for herself and like saying what she needs and what she wants. And her intention was actually not to put any pressure on finding clients and not even worry about finding clients. And she just signed a client last week. So um, there are just, there's just so much evidence here. So if you're at the point where you're realizing that doing more and like just trying to prove your spot, your worth in the space by doing more, saying more, all the things, making more isn't getting you the peace and the stability that you're looking for and honestly signed up for when you created your business. And in fact, you're finding that like because you are a cycle breaking woman, that like there's just your capacity is just different, right? The capacity of like to parent when you did not get the blueprint of healthy parenting, um, probably been parenting without a healthy relationship with your parents now, And trying to learn all of that, figure that out, trying to learn and develop your own emotional maturity when you were never taught it, all of that stuff, and trying to parent in a present and healthful way takes up a lot of capacity, right? And if you're in that spot where you're like, oh my God, yes, you're talking about me, right? This is exactly who I work with. This is exactly the work that I do as a life and business coach. Because again, they don't exist in a vacuum. Our business does not exist in a vacuum. Our life outside of our business does not exist in a vacuum. I have clients often will say, especially if we're new to working together, like, oh my God, I had no idea that all my personal shit was going to show up in my business. Because yeah, it does, especially when you're running your own business, right? And I actually have one private coaching spot opening in April. And if that's something that you've been feeling like you need, is that like private, deep support to get you to the next level in your life or business or both, I'd love to talk to you. And like I mentioned earlier, if you're not sure that you're ready to like jump all into a private coaching container, maybe because you've invested a lot in the past and it was not what you thought it was going to be. Trust is quite a bit lower right now in the coaching space. And I'm happy to do another episode on that. If you're interested, please shoot me a message and let me know. I get that, right? And you deserve to be held and supported in the way you want to be held and supported and in a healthful way. So, my soft start container is a perfect thing for you. It's 2 weeks of exactly the same coaching that I do with my private clients. It will kick off with a one on one call, and then we do unlimited coaching in a free communication app called Telegram, where we do voice notes or text messages or whatever, and for 2 whole weeks where we can coach on like anything that's coming up. It's really great. Clients often come into that thinking they want to focus on like getting clarity in one area, and we end up actually getting to go way deeper in 2 weeks. And then you can decide if like, so you have plenty of spaciousness to decide if moving into the full 6 months of coaching, because actually what I found and just fully decided to own in this season is that 6 months of coaching together when we're doing this deep work is actually what gets the results. So I kept my rate at this 2025 rate of $1,000 a month, and I just opened it up to 6 months so that there's not like this in between phase of like, ooh, do I need to, it takes, like science says, it takes a good 90 days for results to start showing up from the work that you're doing. And when we also have to start with like often unpacking and looking at some limiting beliefs and inner work and different things that are showing up in the business, it just makes the most sense. And all of my clients have been re-signing from 3 months to 6 months, 18. I think one client now I have, we're going on almost 2 years now. So it's 6 months. But you can decide during that 2 weeks if you want to continue it and going deeper into the 6 months. And everything, it's only $297 for the soft start for the 2 weeks. And if you do decide to move into the 6 months, that $297 just rolls into the full container. So it's like a deposit towards the full container. If you don't, that's totally fine too. So the whole point is I don't do pressure selling. I don't do like feeding off people's emotions and making you panic buy. That's how a lot of you guys ended up in the place where you need something like the soft start. So it is just soft. And my brain just went to a place where I wanted to make a dirty joke, but I'm going to keep that to myself. I read too much smut. um, Anyway, if it's resonating and you want to talk, I've got a link in the show notes. You can fill out my quick connection form just to let me know kind of where you're at and what you're looking for. And you can book a connection call. It's zero pressure. We'll get to know each other a little bit better, see if that would be a good fit. And if you're interested, then we can get you that spot for April. You can also send me a DM on Instagram. Even though I am not active there and I haven't posted even stories for a while, I do hop on most days and just check the DMs. So I'm still there checking and communicating in the DMs. So feel free to send me a DM there. Links are in the show notes. And before you go, I genuinely would love to know how your first season of 2026 has gone, like the real version. So send me a DM, shoot me an email. I read every single one. It is just me. I don't use ManyChat. I don't have a VA answer. I don't even have a VA at all at this season of my business. So it's just me. And wherever you are, however your 2026 has gone so far, I hope that you are getting some nice weather and some sun, and that you enjoy spring and the rest of 2026 is awesome for you. All right, talk soon. Okay, so let's talk. I just knock over my water because you haven't noticed I talk with my hands. Put some blinders on and focus on what your life actually looks like. What your life and family actually looks like. Please, by all means, keep using them. I just hit something else. God damn it. Move that out of the way. Shake it out, Kim.